These are 3 hard-earned jewels that'll save you blood, sweat, and tears. We have to learn them the long way. You don't have to.
1, 2.
It's 3 the hard way.
The one thing that probably surprised me the most about how money is made through creative work is probably that most of the time, the things that make the most money aren't the most creative. When I first became a creative, I thought you got to come up with this new way of seeing things, and it has to be something so original, and only the folks that get the notoriety are the ones that actually are able to survive as creatives. And it's kind of far from the truth. Like, it's usually the guys that are coming up to the plate and hitting singles that are the ones that last the longest, as opposed to the home run hitters. When things are too unfamiliar, a lot of times they are the catalyst for the trend that's coming. They usually aren't accepted by the masses the most. They aren't the thing that everybody is gravitating to. If you're trying to create something that is completely original and you think that that is your calling, that's where your joy is going to be found, then go for that. If you're looking for financial gains, that's a whole different mindset. That's not the same thing as like, I want to be the most original creative ever. Those two things are not the same. So I think knowing what the goal is and knowing what your mindset is going into this is key. I don't think just kind of swinging arbitrarily is going to get you there. The bigger the project is, the more people can water down the project. It's rare that like something comes to the mind of a creative and it's brought to fruition exactly how the creative sees it. The more chefs that get in the kitchen, the more the flavors can start to change. And a lot of times when you're watching something and you go like, how did that happen? That's usually what the case was. Let's say the copywriter has the idea. The copywriter is working with the art director. The copywriter and art director are getting approval from the ACD. The ACD is taking the art and copy team to the creative director. The creative director is then talking to the ECD. The ECD, if the project is big enough, has to go through the CCO. Then they have to go to the client, they have to go to the account service team, the strategy team. So it's almost impossible that one individual who had this idea in their head is going to be able to make it happen exactly like how they saw it. There's just too many hands that it has to go through. I think on the other side of it, it's not to say like every time that you have multiple people collaborating on a project, it's gonna get watered down. If everybody is moving in the same direction, trying to accomplish one goal, and the egos aren't involved, a lot of times the project can be way better than that one person initially imagined, and they end up with something so strong that everybody's like able to celebrate and win from. So on the other side, I think, is also collaboration and wins ultimately. It's not a lot of industries that the creative is going to drive the business as opposed to the product or the service that the business is providing. And the creativity is just a supplement to help, accelerate the growth of the business. Just because you're more creative and you feel like this creative is going to push the growth of the company might not be built for it. And so they're not interested in your level of creativity, and you have to be okay with that. I'll give you an example. Okay, so like social media, right? Every company isn't ready to deal with that level of going viral. A lot of times creatives might be like, oh, I have this idea. Let's do this on blah, blah, blah platform. And the company they're not equipped for it, and they wouldn't even know what to do with the spike if they were to go viral. It would just be attention that came to them and it just got wasted because that infrastructure isn't there. Let's say there's a bakery and they have 3 cake artists already, right? And these cake artists are able to do 2 cakes a day. They pump out 2 cakes a day, 10 cakes a week, right? 30 cakes between them. And they go and they hire a new cake artist. And this cake artist is phenomenal, but they can only do 1 cake a week. So now the cost that they're putting into this cake artist who is at a phenomenal level is so much greater than what they're investing in the rest of their cake artists. How much can you sell that cake that artist does? That's the differentiator, right? If it's so good that there's such a demand for it, that people are, rushing and they can upsell this cake because it was designed so well, cool, then that's a good investment. But most likely in those situations, you might be able to mark it up a couple of dollars, 5-10%, but it's not gonna be worth the 10 cakes that this other artist is doing. So the creativity is kind of being wasted at that environment, you know? In that, I think some companies are they're comfortable just growing at the pace that they're growing at. So being super creative is not always welcomed in every industry.